This last weekend, or week I should say, the message that I preached, I think it was last week, was put on social media. And people responded. There was one young man in particular. I'm going to try to find it for you. He responded to it. And I want to read it because it meant something to me. It was personal, but also it was a great illustration of what God is doing. He said, I miss Pastor Dennis Reynolds preaching. He was the only man of God that really spoke to me and helped me change my life around. Let me tell you about Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor was 19 years old when I met him. His mom and dad had started going to our church in Pollock Pines. And Mike was a troubled kid. In fact, he was a musician. He was an amazing musician. He could play guitar, incredible. But he decided to get into a rock band, and he did that. And they got into Satanism and Satan worship. And by the time his mother came to me and asked me to come to the house, he had been in it for a while. And so I got there in church. You know, parents, they panic sometimes, and they'll say this or they'll say that. And so I got to the house, and I'm thinking in my mind, well, it can't be that bad. You know, come on. So I went into the house, and we started praying through the house. And we got to his bedroom, and the door was closed. And I opened the door, and I promise you, as I opened the door, it felt like a wind just blew me back. I mean, it was that strong. And I walked in, and this is just who I am and how I am in the Spirit. When spiritual things are happening around me, I can sense them. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I walked in. I felt like I was walking into a field of electricity. It was crazy. And we walked into his room, and he had books stacked everywhere, Stephen King books, and he had these unbelievable posters. I won't even describe them on the wall. And then I opened this closet door, and as I did, there was a skull. It looked like a human skull. I don't know if it was real or if it was fake, but it looked real. And he had drilled a hole in the top of it, put a candle in it, and it was sitting on a pentagram, a 5-sided star. That was his altar. He had told his mom that he believed that he could astral project. He could lay in his bed and go through the bottom of the bed and out, and he could astral project. He believed all that. And I have to tell you, after what I saw and what I felt, I believed it. Pastor Jay, I believed it. So we started cleaning the room up. We started taking all the posters down. I got all the stuff. We got garbage bags and threw it all away. And then we took the garbage bags out, cleaned the room out. They took all his clothes, they took everything, put them in suitcases. And here's what I told them. I said, listen, this is your home. This is your home. And if he can't abide by your rules, then he needs to live somewhere else. And they agreed. And so we put all his bags on the porch, and we cleaned the room out. Then I went back in with Mom and Dad, and we began to pray throughout that room. We anointed the doorposts with oil, and I ran over the window, and I opened the window. It was just for effect. I didn't expect, how many know demons can go out windows or they can go through walls. It didn't matter. But it looked good. And I opened the window, and when I did, the curtains went back through the window. Instead of being blown back this way, they went that way. And we believed that God had cleaned that room up. Amen. We knew it. Later that evening, he came back to the house. He saw all the stuff on the porch, and he said, what in the blankety blank, blankety blank is this about? And they told him. They said, Mike, this is our home. We called Pastor Dennis over and had him pray through the house. And we cleaned all the stuff up. It will not come back in our house. If you're going to live like this, you're going to have to go somewhere else. And he looked at them, and he put a little smile on his face, and he said, tell Pastor Dennis curiosity killed the cat. And he walked away. That night, I went to sleep. I tucked my boys in, and I went to sleep. And I had the most demonic dream I've ever had. I dreamt I was in my room just like it was, in bed just like it was, the light off just like it was. And I got out of bed and I walked around my house and I began to pray. Amen. And I walked around my house for 45 minutes and I prayed and I asked God to clean it and keep it safe and keep my baby safe and keep my wife safe. The next morning, I got up and I felt great. From that point on, Mike's life began to change.
Amen.
Within a month's time, 2 of his band members had gotten saved at a concert and they quit the band. Mike was all by himself. He moved to Santa Cruz. He was there for a little while, and he tells the story of sitting on the beach and looking at the water, and all of a sudden this depression just came over him, and he started to cry. He started to weep, and he said all of a sudden something broke, and he said these words came out of my mouth: God, if you're real, prove it now. I need to know. And he said all of a sudden something came over me. He said it was not like before. God changed him. He came back. He came to my office. We prayed. He asked the Lord into his heart to be his Lord and Savior. God totally transformed him. That's the Mike that just wrote what he wrote this last week on Facebook. You see, church, when we trust God, when we imitate him, amen. When we tell the truth, when we love the unlovable, when we know that revenge is not part of our life anymore, God can have a chance to transform us.